This film is an overview of a collaborative project between second-year BA Fashion students at Northumbria University School of Design, the Fenwick Family Archive and Tynemere Museums, and Fenwicks.
Our group concept, Whispers in the Tea Room, was inspired by the rise of feminism in the original Northumberland street store in the 1890s. The invention of the safety bicycle that decade gave women the opportunity to be independent for the first time, and the respectable tea room provided the space. Here women would chat about forbidden topics such as politics and science, and would raise awareness about women's rights. Our decade design team researched several patronesses found in one of the archival documents who had toilettes made by J.J. Fenwick. We discovered remarkable women who spoke up and fought for their place in society. One example was Lady Sarah Wilson. She was someone we were all intrigued by, as she was the first female war correspondent, and she rode horseback through the battlefields of the Boer War in Africa, reporting first-hand on events. Rich with documentation, the archive allowed us to research Fenwick's garment production history and provided a signature style, strong and powerful but yet elegant, due to the fascinating combination of the leg of mutton sleeve and the corset. Across our individual design process, we focus mainly on the modern translation of uncomfortable and old-fashioned corsetry boning into modern pleating details, creating comfort. I researched into different types of pleats and experimented with their length, size, and placement. I applied them to my garment design development on paper, creating a comfortable modern collection appealing to the Fenwick younger customer. As our project was mainly inspired by the empowerment of women, we wanted to bring the wild, independent character of the patronesses into our collection. It was important to us that the customer feels beautiful and powerful, but yet confident.
A new decade, a new century. The early 1900s was overshadowed by the death of Queen Victoria, the longest reigning monarch our country had ever seen. In contrast, the later stages of the decade were a period of innovation. Women's clothing was revolutionised, gone was the restrictive S-bend silhouette, and in its place a more relaxed shape allowing for more exerted physical movement. With this new fashion freedom, women started to ride horses, traverse the city on bicycles, and travel greater distances in automotive vehicles. In 1908, Henry Ford's Model T arrived in Britain. Conceived as practical, affordable transportation for the common man, it quickly became prized for its durability, low cost, versatility and ease of maintenance. Clothing now had to adapt to a combination of function and fashion to meet the requirements of this enlightened new customer. The Fenwicks archive provided a key illustration of a couple wearing an identical car coat in front of the Ford Model T. The car had a defined and identifiable shape, durable materials and details that allowed its passengers to adapt the car to the conditions of their journey and destination. I considered and incorporate these elements in my garment, a diverse voluminous silhouette created with bishop sleeves synonymous with the decade, water-repellent fabric adapting to changing environments, visible fastenings, metal zips and press studs, a detachable hood and belt bag allowing the wearer to adapt the functional aspect of the garment to their needs and quilting, like the interior of the car, adding comfort and warmth to the wearer. Our team concept, juxtaposition, is established on the contrast between the beginning and the end of the 1900 decade. The archive provided an amazing parallel to innovation in clothing today, how it must adapt to demands within society, embrace diversity across generations, and purpose for the informed customer.
Our group concept, The War of Rights, takes inspiration from the social war of women's suffrage between 1910 and 1919. The suffragette movement pioneered by heroic patrons of Fenwicks archived revolutionary changes for women. In 1918, Parliament passed a bill allowing women the right to vote. Inspired by the chic, voluminous silhouettes worn by suffragettes like Lady Louisa Lumsden, our goal was to design a beautifully tailored and crafted garment collection appealing to the modern-day woman. The culotte, a garment that gives the appearance of a skirt but is indeed trousers, was a revolutionary item worn by suffragettes. A practical garment, still sleek and stylish, represented the aesthetic of my collection perfectly. The archival fashion plates, incredibly modern of their time, reflected what women wanted to wear. I identified the use of draping to create a loose fit contemporary of their time, catching revolutionary direction set in Paris by Paul Paret. Considered the founder of haute couture, he was known for his loose-fitting designs, created specifically for uncorseted, slim figure. He often incorporated culottes into his collections. My garment's high-waisted culotte-style trouser and dimple-sleeve blouse utilised the drape in their development and included buttons inspired by details identified in the fashion plates. Delving into the archive was incredibly inspiring. I was fascinated by Fenwick's connection to the suffragette movement in Newcastle. I loved the idea that such revolutionary inspiring women walked through Fenwick's door in 1910, and by designing a practical clothing that appealed to a modern day woman like Lady Louisa Lumsden, feminists will still look at Fenwick's for a garment not only that looks chic but is also practical.
The Bauhaus art movement, firmly established in the 1920s, is the foundation of our group concept. We found a strong influence of art movements in the Fenwick archival clothing sales documents and recognised similarities between the Brunswick Place side of the store and the exterior of the Bauhaus in Dessau. Our colour story focused on colours from a Kandinsky painting, yellow, red and blue, primary colours that appear in shapes on the painting in contrast to more abstract shapes. The straight and black lines inspired us to look at both modern and traditional architecture. The modernist Bauhaus building and Fenwick French Renaissance style building provided this opportunity. In terms of garment silhouette, we were strongly influenced by Chanel. Based in Paris, Gabrielle Coco Chanel was challenging the purpose of fashion, focusing on the identity of the individual and key wardrobe pieces. Her clothing empowered women, leaving behind the harsh traditional views of appearance throughout the 1920s. Silhouettes became looser and more relaxed. Overall, my design process explored how to challenge traditional style, adding a contemporary twist. In my prints, I played with the scale and proportion of expressive shapes, applied tones of colour to create bold abstract patterns. I was adventurous in my print development, creating a variety of looks to attract the Fenwick's customer, a fun and mature approach.
Our concept is called A Night at the Circus, revolving around the detailed historical information surrounding the Bertram Mill Circus in the Fenwick Archive. The costumes of the circus performers captured the art and creativity of the circus through garment details and embellishments, in contrast to the fashion choices of the high society patrons and attendees, who chose more conservative silhouettes. Across our decade design team, we each adopted different elements of the circus in our work. I researched theatrical presentations of joy as a way of offering positivity in the current uncertain social climate. The joyful nature of the circus acrobats and dancers, and the appreciation high society class attendees have for the arts, inspired me to create a theatrical and flamboyant garment with a contemporary functional twist. I was inspired particularly by the silhouettes of the circus performers' costumes and tramboards from the Fenwick Archive, which led me to develop a statement and ruffle texture based around a classic staple white dress to appeal to the Fenwick market level. I was surprised by the amount of costume details that are still seen in contemporary fashion today, such as bows and ruffles. My design process required me to make detailed samples and then, through creative design development collages, play with proportion and placement to generate a variety of silhouettes to appeal to younger and older Fenwick customers.
We now look to the 1940s, the last decade explored in the project. Naturally, this period in our history is colored by the shadow of the Second World War. Customers were still able to buy necessities and small affordable luxury post-war at Fenwick, with ration books until 1949. In Europe, Dior's new look or outlook was revealed, celebrating ultra-femininity and opulence in women's fashion, using more fabric than was deemed prudent or economical to present a new generous silhouette, a reaction against the austerity that people and fashion has been experiencing. Our decade design team juxtaposed this with double exposure, a photographic technique discovered by Man Ray, an American visual artist who superimposed exposure to create a single photograph. Man Ray collaborated with Lee Miller, an American photographer, photojournalist and fashion model. She was one of a handful of female war correspondents. Her versatility and accomplishments inspired us tremendously. My garment silhouette development explored our concept. I chose to use a lightweight, worsted, a strong, warm and durable cloth in a period of rationing. Its texture represents dust following destruction. Importantly, my embellishment was driven by Victoria's stamp discovered in an advertisement. The 3 dots and 1 dash is the name of the Morse code for the letter V. The archive provided the opportunity to delve into a decade that saw society dust itself off and look to the future. This fueled our inspiration and desire to create diverse garments to attract a broad range of clientele to Fenwick.